I'm David Willner.
I'm Barnea Levi Selavan.
You're watching
Taped with Rabbi Doug.
We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug. We're gonna see Rabbi Doug on your TV tonight. But Daddy, I want to watch Monday Night Football.
Forget about Monday Night Football. There's no other thing we're going to watch on Monday but Rabbi Doug.
Yeah, Rabbi Doug on TV tonight. We're going to see Rabbi Doug. Oh, everybody talk about Doug.
Shalom and welcome to Tape with Rabbi Doug. We are here for part 2 with the foundation stone presentation of David Willner and Rabbi Barnea Selavan. I want to thank once again Rabbi Willner from the Walder Science Center, and of course Dr. Joseph Walder and all the sponsors who brought this program to Chicago. It's the most interesting program if you caught part 1, but right now we're going to see part 2, so stay with us here on Tape with Rabbi Doug.
You're having an argument over who just grabbed that talus that was lying over there in the corner. 2 people are fighting over it. That's where they're fighting because someone left this talus by the gate. That's where the judges are going to be. In a time of war, we shut the gates. And in this city, we found what's called a 4-chambered gate. Now, in the mightiest cities in Israel, for much later in time, Barnea is going to hold up an illustration of the gate that was found. Okay, you can see the 4 chambers. Turn this way. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4 chambers and a threshold stone. And the gates, the doors would be made of wood, would close against the stone. It's the largest stone of this type ever found in the country. It's about 8 tons. 1 stone. Now, I smashed through the first gates. I'm now in an area where I'm stuck with all my soldiers. I have people shooting at me with arrows from on top, pouring hot oil. I now have to smash through another set of gates. They're coming this, and after I do that a second time, I have a 3rd set of doors before I can penetrate into the city. Now this by itself was an astonishing find, because in the academic world, in the world of the university, there were no fortified towns of Yehuda in Eretz Yisrael ever found, so they simply didn't exist. When we found this site, it changed the history books. When we found the gate, it changed it even more. And nearby, when we found a piece of writing from the same period next to the gate that mentions a shofet, or an Evan, which it also mentions, or a melech, which it also mentions, it's off the charts. There's a picture here, you can maybe pass that around. Okay, that's an illustration of what the pottery shard looks like. So that was off the charts. That was an incredible find for a number of reasons. If we look at text from ancient Jewish history, people are somewhat familiar with the idea of Ksav Ivri. Ksav Ivri was used by Bnei Yisrael for writing Sifrei Torah and other important documents until the time of Ezra. Since the time of Ezra made a takana. You can only use for Sifrei Torah Ksav Ashuris, which is what we use today. Not because it comes from Ashur, but because it was a rich form of writing. It was Ashir. But this is from 3,000 years ago, and on this chart, and we'll pass the chart around also, this is before Ksav Ivri is formalized as a writing system. And so the academics call this Proto-Canaanite. Proto meaning early, and Canaanite that it comes from the region of Canaan, but nobody knows exactly who started it and when. What we do know is that it seems to have evolved from pictograms. Ksav Ivri is based on the same writing system that's going to give birth to Phoenician and to Aramaic and to Hebrew writing and to Greek writing and ultimately Latin and the English characters that we use today. Now I'm going to do a little bit of a virtual illustration. Over here in Mesopotamia, in Ashur, in Bavel, they're writing with cuneiform, stick writing. Over here in Mitzrayim, they're writing with hieroglyphics. Very complicated writing systems. You need a scribe to be able to read and to write. Very often even the kings themselves could not read and write. You needed people who from their earliest ages were trained in the hundreds and hundreds of characters that are involved in those writing systems.
Wait, commercial. This is a stone from the banks of Nahar Prat, from the Euphrates. And this is a motel towel, we won't dwell on it right now, from Haran. And Haran is right here in the middle between Egypt and Bavel and Ashur and the Euphrates. When you're coming up the Fertile Crescent and you're crossing over, you pass the Haran. It's still Me'ever Nahar. It's on the other side of the Euphrates from Israel, but this is from the town of Sefer Breshit. End of commercial.
So you have a city in a place called Emek Ha'elah, and we're going to show you Emek Ha'elah in a minute on the map. And it's astonishing because here you have something that everybody has ignored, all the academics have ignored. And it's important not because of what happened in this city. It's mentioned just a few times in Tanach. It's mentioned once in Sefer Yoshua, which we'll get to in a minute, and it's mentioned a couple of times in Sefer Shmuel and once in Divrei Hayamim. That's it. No major events happen in this town. No major characters come from this town. And the academic world even debates that this town is what we think it is. So I told you some of the names that it goes by in modern times, but what was it called in Jewish history? So after we found the first gate, we decided to do a little investigation on our own, and we did a survey around the walls in 2008, and we found what we thought was another gate. So we went to the archaeologist who was in charge of the site, his name is Yossi Garfinkel, and we said, have you checked out the possibility that there may be another gate in this city? And he thought for a minute, and he chuckled, and he said, there are no cities in the 10th century in Eretz Yisrael with two gates.
Ein davar kazeh.
It simply doesn't exist. And that's how the matter remained in August of 2008. In November, there was a big convention called ASOR, which is going to be taking place this year here in Chicago. And at this convention, all of the world's biblical archaeologists, people who are digging in the Middle East, they get together and they share their finds for the year. Thank you. And at this convention, he announced all the important finds. And when he came back a few days later after ASOR, he said, do you know we have a second gate? He called me up. And I said, I know. I sent you a picture of a second gate. He goes, well, I'm not shy. You did? And I said, yes, look at picture number so-and-so sent on such and such a date. I had the email, and I showed him, and he goes, oh, so we arranged for a group of Bnei Akiva kids to come and clear out all the brush, all the bushes, all the overgrown material that was covering up the gate. And it's very quickly after that, they restored the gate, and now we have the only site in this period in Eretz Yisrael with two gates. The first gate faces the Plishtim. The second gate faces towards Eretz Yehuda, towards the Harei Yehuda, towards Beit Lechem and Chavron, but more closely, it faces almost directly towards a town called Socho. And we're going to talk about that right now.
We have tape.
You have tape?
Yeah.
Okay, so go that way. Go that.
You want to go over the board?
Ah. I don't know if you put tape on the wall. But anyhow, Barnea, you want to do it on the map?
We watched the last 8 minutes of the Super Bowl in Best Buy after closing hours, so I know what the timeout is. It cost the Patriots big. Okay, so that's the end of our timeout. Shalom Aleichem, good morning. I have to tell you that Rabbi Doug told you about the Rambam explaining why Rabbi Yehuda Nasi wrote the Mishnah. When you stand in the amphitheater over the kever of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi in Beit Sharim, where the Gemara in Ksubas Kovdalad, Gimel Kovdalad discusses his being buried, and you describe why Rabbi Yehuda Nasi wrote the Mishnah there, it's chilling. It goes into your bones. It's an unbelievable thing. And again, I want to thank place in the Chadasan. Thank you to the Rav and to the Shul, and welcome to the Lubavitch Cheder we missed this week. All week long, by my count, we're holding at about 50 presentations. Because, for example, in one school, we did 6 presentations of 40 minutes each, from 8:30 in the morning till 1:30. And all week long and all Shabbos long, children from the different schools, from Ari Crown, from the Bites in the Cheder, they come up, you answered my question, and then we walked into a pizza store, and a kid interrupts his pizza. Do you know what that is, to interrupt your pizza? He says, I can write Ksav Ivri. Hundreds of children in this community, since last week, can now write and read the ancient script, which is from the time of Tanach. And what we do is, we test them afterwards, and we hold up, this is a stone from the king of Aram, talking about Beit David, Beis David, and they read it off the label. But to do that, you need small groups, focused learning, and we came to work with teachers so that any teacher can do what we're doing here, not to make a special performance on Eretz Yisrael, and so that it impacts, you're welcome to pass it around, and so that it impacts the children. But we were told in America you have to do advertising, so therefore we have these type of gatherings as well. But just understand that the idea is that your teachers here in Chicago, the Cheder Rebbes, the Moiros, the Sunday school throughout the community should be able to use the geography and the archaeology of Eretz Yisrael to make things tangible and visible. And there are children, I'll just tell a quick story. We have a multi-million-dollar project of making a media resource kit going through Jewish history, going through Tanach, and the time of the Mishnah. And we said, okay, let's hire a grant writer. And we hired this grant writer, and in the middle of us describing the vision, she breaks down crying. She says, my children were in Jewish schools till 7th grade. Everything was text, everything was books. They were visual. They couldn't take it, they left, they're no longer functionally Jewish. If this would have been in Jewish education, they still would be functioning as Jews. And she couldn't go on for a while. We don't know who's in our classroom. We don't know what's going to touch them. And I can also tell you from being in the week that even in places which are yeshivas and elsewhere, not everybody is there. Even if they're dressing that way, they're not all there. And we want to know what happens after they leave our school system. We have to invest and plant early. Okay. Back to Emek Hayla. So, there's a red here somewhere. Yes. I was doing a learning with Rabbi Aaron Leibowitz's Yad Yosef organization in Nachlaot and Yerushalayim, and we went through Yeshua and Shaftim and Shmuel and Malachim and Nap. And so it's the end of the year, and a huge gentleman finally says, Rabbi, stop, I can't take it anymore. I went to West Point. Blue is the good guys, red is the bad guys. Please stop confusing the colors. So, I learned. Here we have, I'm going to use black for Yerushalayim, so you know where it is. Here is Yerushalayim. The Salt Sea, which you around here you call the Dead Sea, even though there's 4 types of fish that live where the Yarden crosses in. The joke is schmaltz herring and mackerel, but there's 4 types of fish. The orientation of this map is east-west, from which you learn that all your maps are sideways. This is the correct way, this is the way God views the land of Israel, this is the way the Torah views the land of Israel. Kedem is the face, you face Kedem, that's your orientation, orient to the east. Yam is Achor, Yamin is south, and Smol is left, and in the map, Smol is north. And these are 2 satellite images of Israel composited together, and you're actually looking at the land, and not for right now, but afterwards. This is a famous thing right by Beit El. You can see Yud K Vav K. The natural formation of the valley seems to have God's name in it. It's a fun thing to use when you need to attract somebody's attention. And in America, that's very important because you get bombarded. Okay. So, Benjamin means, what does Benjamin mean? Son of the south. Exactly right. You got it. Because that's why Rashi brings Tilim Peites Pasuk Yud Gimel to tell you that Yamin means south. Very good. Okay. So, and Benjamin is here in the south of Eretz Yisrael. Back to our story. The Plishtim are here. Aza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gat, Ekron, and actually Eretz HaPlishtim goes all the way out here. We just had it in Parshas Beshalach, that we did not come from Egypt, Derech Eretz Plishtim, Ki Karovu, that was the short way in. When we're in Samuel 1, chapter 17, I'm deliberately speaking in English because those are Christian chapters, those are not Jewish chapters, it's a different way of breaking it up. When we're in Sefer Shmuel, and there's no such thing as Shmuel Aleph and Shmuel Bet, and Melachim Aleph and Melachim Bet, that is not a Jewish division. If you're here in a Jewish place, these are not terms that we should use. It's one Sefer Shmuel, it's one Sefer Melachim. So in that story, Shaul has been warned, told by Shmuel, Saul, you're on the way out. Somebody else is going to replace you because you did not listen. It was far more important to listen than, oh, I thought I was doing the right thing, I'm acting. I told you exactly what I wanted from you. You couldn't listen from the get-go. You cannot be the king. You're on your way out. And in this story, David comes in place of Shaul. A huge giant whose name, I forgot his name. Goliath, yes. Goliath comes from the city of Gas, from Gat, here. It was a massive city with very fertile fields all around it. And it could export to the ports of the Philistines here and out to the Aegean. And new understandings because of the digs here in Gat. Tel Safi, Professor Arn Meir, and an international team, Louise Hitchcock from Australia, all kinds of people coming, each Steve Weiner of the Weizmann Institute, high-tech science. There's a laboratory with test tubes and equipment right there at the dig. We now know that the Plishtim did not come from, it's not like New York is from, because Old York. No, they came from as far away as Italy, Greece, Crete, Cyprus, modern-day Turkey. They came from a whole rainbow of countries and in waves. They didn't have one source, the Plishtim. Fine. That's proved by pottery. So, Gat was a mighty city. Goliath comes from Gat. He is leading the invasion wedge, the formation, and the Pasuk says that they came into Socho, Asher LaYehuda, and then they camped between Socho and Azekah and Ephes Damim. Now, Vayasvu Plishtim et Machneim LaMilchama, Vayasvu Socho Asher LaYehuda, Vayachnu ben Socho ben Azekah be'Ephes Damim. Did I say that in enough of an accent that children could understand me? I didn't say it in Hebrew, I said it in... Okay. V'shol v'ish Yisrael nesfu, v'yachnu be'emek ha'ila, v'yachnu milkama likras Plishtim. So, these Plishtim invade and take over the area of Socho and Azekah, ladies and gentlemen, or is it lady and gentlemen? This summer, coming to a theater near you, this summer, in Emek Ha'ila, and that range, there will be 7 major digs, 2 of them brand new, no one has ever done, one of them Socho, no one has ever done Socho professionally, and Azekah was dug briefly 100 years ago. And the Assyrians talk in the later time how we conquered Azekah, sitting there like an eagle perched on top. We believe we have found, I say the royal we, I'm studying at Tel Aviv University, so it's we believe we have found the Assyrian siege ramp to conquer Azekah. The dig begins this summer, and people can join that dig if they come for at least 2 weeks. So now, the Plishtim have invaded into Yehuda. Yehuda and Binyamin. The heartland of where the Jews are here in the backbone of Eretz Israel. Let's understand that for a minute. Beersheba, Hebron, Beit Lechem, Yerushalayim, Beit El, Shiloh, Shechem, Tirzah. This area here is called in Dvarim and Yeshua the Har, the mountain. This area in between is called the Shvelah. They're foothills. They're not mountains. They're foothills with valleys. And then we have the coast. So the coastal people, the Plishtim, who are already living to a degree in the Shvelah, are now invading, and they're about to come over the mountains. So what happens is that Shaul and Ish Yisrael descend from the mountains, and where's the best place to block them? Right here. Emek Ha'ila, the Elah Valley, is the last place where you can stop an invasion coming from the Plishtim. Now, everybody in Israel knows this area because there's two gigantic satellite dishes, and some people say it's Goliath's shield, and some people say it's Goliath's breakfast plates. Those are the jokes. But on the way to the airport, I went from Yerushalayim. I live lifnim in Achayma, within the walls of Yerushalayim. Of the time of the Mikdash, you can eat karbanos in my house. Went to pick up David, who lives on the road going to Hebron and Derech Beis Lechem Efrat. He lives in Efrat. And we came down and literally crossed through Emek Ha'ila on our way to Lud, to the airport, which is in Eretz HaPlishtim. What type, please don't call out, please raise your hands. Everybody can play. What kind of stone did David pick up to throw at Goliath? Yes. I like a shepherd stone. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I would call it a skipping stone. The pasuk says, "Chalukei hanachal." They have become smooth from banging through the creek bed and being washed down. It smooths out the stone, and then it becomes a shepherd stone, or the tribe of Binyamin, who were experts at slingshots. I need it aerodynamically to fly, to whiz through the air so fast, you won't know if it hit you. In the story of the Churban, Josephus says, originally the Jews were laughing at the stones that were being thrown and catching them. And then the Romans painted them white so you wouldn't see them coming, and then they became deadly. A stone can kill. When the Arabs are throwing stones at cars and at people, they are attempting murder. But they're just saying misachek. And we didn't fight it as if it was murder. No, it's just children throwing stones, and from that escalated the intifada, and that is not our topic right now. So, I want you to understand that when the pasuk says Emek Ha'ila is the meeting place, somebody who knows the topography, the geography, Eretz Yisrael says, of course, I was giving a teacher seminar here, and I made a stupid mistake. I said it was at the corner of Devon and Pratt. And he says, hey, you don't understand, those are parallel, seeing that? Those are parallel streets, you idiot, you fool, you don't know Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, very well-paid teachers who have X amount of minutes and have to cover ground over the year, when they learn this kapitel, when they learn this chapter in Shmuel, skip the whole geography in the beginning, because the only thing that matters is look at the emunah, look at the faith, look at the Mesiras Nefesh of David HaMelech, of David going out and facing the giant with the word of God. Nothing else matters. It's all. And I just have to rip through, and I'm just going to drop it. But if you understand where it happens, you can make it understandable. Of course it's there. Physically, that's why we chose to work in this place. Physically, I'm literally in a frontier zone. I see Eretz Pleshet from where I stand. I see the Harei Yehuda. This is the point. It hits you with such power. So if we have you there, as Mr. Glenner has come with us, and Rabbi Willner has come with us, I want to thank Rabbi Willner for making the shidduch. When you stand there, nothing compares standing there with a Tanach in your hands and looking at the pottery. The next best thing to being there is the media to put it into the children's hands on a Sunday morning to begin to understand it. And they should each have their own map to look at, and then there should be pictures and movies, the whole 9 yards, as they say. So that's Emek Ha'ila, and finding a fortified structure that is dated from 3,000 years ago. How do they know it was 3,000 years old? Well, my Israeli tour guide license is somewhere here in my bags. I could just put it on and say that, that's what it is. But they found an incredible thing. Is everybody sitting down? I don't want anybody to fall off their chairs. Ready? They found 4 burnt olive pits. So a few pieces of pottery, a burnt olive pit, and some old stones that nobody pays attention to, all of a sudden can become alive if you have the vision of Tanach and the vision of the university, and if you can integrate and combine them, it's fascinating. These are new discoveries which have not yet played themselves out. You can't say it's like this. The excitement of the discovery and of the analysis throws us back to look at the psukim again and makes everything live.
I have 2 invitations for everybody here. After we finish, you're welcome to come up and take a look at some of the things that we brought, some of the coins, and some of the artifacts. I'll give you an example. There's a piece here of Murex trunculus, which is the shell that they took the dye for the chilazon for the tchelis. You'll notice that people are now starting to wear tchelis in different places in the world. So that's an example. That was found in Yavna, which means that either they were dyeing tchelis in the Sanhedrin at that time in Yavna, or it means that because there were Romans there, the Romans were using it because at different times the Romans forbade the production of tchelis to Bnei Yisrael, so that only they would have the royal dye for themselves. The other invitation is I want to invite you to come back home, to come to Eretz Yisrael, to see for yourselves the places, because we could talk about it in Chicago, but there's no comparison being in the place where the events and stories of Tanach took place and seeing them for yourselves. I wrote a word up on the wall. Who can read the word? What does it say? So in this week's parsha, right, we have the Seres HaDibros. If it doesn't say Shamor in this week's parsha, what does it say? Zachor. Right? Later on, when the Luchos Shnios are given, right, it says Shamor. And Chazal tell us Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad. When Ezra HaSofer came, and he made it to come and came back to Eretz Yisrael that you couldn't write anymore in Ksav Yivrei Sefer Torah, right? Only Ksav Ashuris has the richness to be able to demonstrate, so to speak, the Masorah, the deep Masorah of Bnei Yisrael. So we have inside the word, where's the marker? Inside the word, right, Shamor, we have a Shin is a Zayin and an Ayin, and a Mem is a Chaf and a Vav. So inside the word Shamor, we have the word Zachor. Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad. Your job is when you go back to your classrooms, when you go back to your families, to remember you have two obligations. One is to be shomer the mitzvahs and the Masorah. The other is to always remember you're part of a long chain of Klal Yisrael.
Welcome back. I want to thank you for being with us. I want to thank Rabbi Barnea Selavan. I want to thank David Willner for coming in for Eretz Yisrael and sharing this with us. And you're actually a native-born Chicagoan, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm just amazing, and that makes it even more special that you're here
Yes.
with us. And how old were you when you moved out of Chicago and then to Eretz Yisrael?
My father, blessed memory, came to be a student in University of Chicago, and we left when I was 3.5 to
And then
Pittsburgh.
and when did you go to Aliyah?
Indiana PA, Pittsburgh. I made Aliyah at 24 years old. Our yeshiva made Aliyah as a yeshiva.
Really?
First yeshiva
Did
to
you
make
also the
Aliyah.
same year? Maybe?
No, I
You were in
came-
Los Angeles, right? And
Right.
when did you go to Aliyah?
I finished after I finished grad school in 1982.
Very nice, very nice. Well, thank God you did, Baruch Hashem, because look what you've brought to the rest of the world with what you're doing. Remember, you can check out our website, www.tvrabbi.com, where you can also see our shows on the web. And if you want to send us an email or you want to send them an email, I'll forward it to them, and I know they'll get back to you, info@tvrabbi.com. I want to thank Dr. Walder and the Walder Science Center. I want to thank Rabbi Heschel Weiner for bringing these two here and having this program presented. And I want to thank you two once again for being with us. Hope to see you next time right here on Taped with Rabbi Doug. Shalom, everyone.
And I'm talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug. Talking about Rabbi Doug on your TV show.
This has been a Taped with Rabbi Doug production.